E3 2016 has now officially begun as the EA conference just finished. Now, we had a fair amount of things discussed, but not any really huge revelations. It was all things that we already knew or been leaked ahead of time. But let's discuss what EA had to say for themselves anyway. The first thing that was on the itinerary was, of course, Titanfall 2. They, of course, confirmed that it's coming to the PlayStation 4. But I noted a few things from the trailer that I think are worth discussing. Now, what was shown that interested me was a sort of grapple where you can sort of grapple not only onto the environment but also onto other players and to your Titan. So you had kind of like, you know, sort of jumping, grapple to your Titan, get into the Titan and obviously start your gameplay. And there was what sort of looked like some sort of teleport ability on show where some guy was shooting another person and then sort of teleported behind him, kind of Tracer style, and then obviously shot him in the face. They also confirmed 6 new Titans available with more customization, and it's going to be a full single player offline campaign, so it's not the quote unquote campaign that we had for the original Titanfall. It will actually be a proper campaign. And what seemed interesting from the single player trailer is that the Titan actually seems alive and someone's talking to it and it's replying, you know, talking about how, you know, its current owner and things like that. And they did reveal that it will be releasing on October the 28th. Now, given that it's EA, they spoke a lot about sports. I'm not going to talk about the sports games. To be honest, I completely switched off as soon as the sports came on. I don't know anything about Madden or FIFA to really talk in depth about it. I will go through what they discussed, but here we go. So we've got Madden NFL, we've got some new competitive modes coming, and they've got lots of esports. They spoke fairly lengthily, I mean for an hour conference I guess, about esports and how they're going to have weekly challenges and going to have 3 tiers of events. They're going to have sort of the challenger with sort of homebrew, and they're going to have sort of 2 tiers of EA run events. One is sort of the middling range, and then you've also got the big daddy events where you've got the best players competing for serious money and that sort of thing. So that's cool. More support for esports is always good. So, Mass Effect Andromeda, they teased us, but they didn't really show much. They shared that it will be fully on the Frostbite engine, bigger worlds. There was a woman in the trailer, but that doesn't really mean a huge amount. As we all know, you can choose your gender in Mass Effect, but obviously for most of their marketing, they had sort of male Shepard in the past. Maybe they're going to do it differently this time. We just don't know. All I know is there's a woman in the trailer. It wasn't necessarily the main character. They also said that you're part of an expedition to the Andromeda galaxy, obviously leaving the Milky Way for a completely new galaxy, and they did say it'll be bigger worlds, but what that means... Now also revealed something interesting called Play to Give. Basically they're going to have various in-game challenges in some of their big things at the moment, like Star Wars Battlefront, Battlefield Hardline. We have in-game challenges where basically EA will be giving money to charity. They're going to be giving about $1 million. I didn't really specify dollars, but I'm going to assume dollars to charity, various charities that they spoke about that, you know, do different things. And basically they're actually doing some good things that aren't actually directly sort of, hey, here's a game. They're doing this charity thing. Another thing which I'll get to in a moment. So in-game challenges directed for charity and sort of themed towards the charity they're going to be donating towards, which is kind of cool. Again, FIFA 17, it was not really my area of expertise, but we do know it will have managers in the game, and they had a fairly painful walk-on segment from one of the managers, where they had scripted banter, and that was quite cringeworthy to watch, to be quite honest. But the next thing that came up after that was actually really interesting to me as a big fan of indie games, as we have EA Originals, where basically they're going to be partnering with indies to sort of help them publish and support their games development, and also seem to hint towards funding as well. And what really interested me here, and this was kind of why I related it to the charity thing just a second ago, is they're going to be giving all the profit to the developers. So we've got EA not only giving money to charity, but also supporting indie developers like they did with Unravel before, and getting them their games published and funded. So that's a big problem for many indies, and also letting them have all the profit of their game, which is really interesting. And obviously offers a nice sort of security blanket for these indies to know that, hey, they actually have a big publisher with a lot of clout backing them in their development. So they did reveal the first EA original game called Fee. It's by a Swedish studio, I believe. And they showed a gameplay trailer which looked really interesting, a very unique, sort of quite dark gameplay style. Very sort of like basic in terms of like the textures, but it had a really sort of unique atmosphere that you'll obviously be seeing on the screen. And Spoke a little bit about the sort of themes that are going to be running through the game, where you have a relationship with nature. It's all about a story without words and sort of letting the world speak for itself. You play as a young cub, you wake up in the forest, you don't know who you are, how you got there or anything, and you kind of explore the world. And what sounded interesting is that the guy was saying how each living creature, including plants and obviously the other creatures that you speak to or interact with, shall I say, have their own song, and you can learn their songs to explore more areas and sort of unlock more areas of the world to explore. So kind of Metroidvania-esque elements where, hey, you need this particular song to explore this area and communicate with the creatures of this particular section and that sort of thing. Now the enemies seem to be called the Silent Ones, where they're sort of protruding their silence, I suppose, overwriting the song of the forest and the creatures within the forest and even the plants, as I said, and you have to use stealth to get around them. Now, what's interesting is that the developer said that there won't be any hand-holding. The game won't tell you what to do, where to go, or anything. It literally will probably tell you the controls and unleash you into this world to fully explore for yourself, which is probably going to give the feeling of sort of, hey, I'm lost and frightened in this world I don't understand, which is exactly the sort of feeling that the main character would be feeling if you wake up and you don't know who you are, how you got there, or what happened to you before this. So you're obviously going to wake up, be like, oh god, where am I? Help, speak to people, try and piece together what's happening, and that sort of thing. No release window and platforms were confirmed, but I have to say, Fee looks really, really interesting. Now, they spoke a little bit about Star Wars, but again, nothing of really real substance was revealed. They hinted at some things. For example, there is going to be another Star Wars Battlefront. They didn't really say the word sequel, but that's kind of what they said. They basically said it's going to have content from the films, and it's going to have more content, how they're listening to their players, yada yada yada, usual PR gubbins, nothing of real substance revealed. Now, they did say in 2018 we're going to be having a Star Wars game from Visceral with new characters, and they did confirm that Respawn are indeed working on a third-person action game set in the Star Wars universe, but again, no details at all were given, not even slight hints at gameplay. We saw the tiniest segment, and I do mean the tiniest segment, of what I believe was Amy Hennig's project, and it looked really cool, but it was like 5 seconds worth of footage, so impossible to get anything from that. And lastly, they finished up with Battlefield 1. Now, the phrase that they kept repeating for this was, no battle is ever the same. So I think they're talking about, obviously, the multiplayer there, where obviously it's very much based on the players, but they're also focused on the improvements they've made to the destruction mechanics as well as dynamic weather. Now, they didn't really say how they'd improve the destruction, if it's more fluid, more natural, if more things are destructible or what, but they said it had been improved, and how the dynamic weather is going to be more unpredictable and will change the map. So say, for example, you're playing on the same map, but on one game it might be sunny, the next game it might be foggy, the next game might be, raining, that sort of thing. It's very much going to change how the map functions, how you have to play on the map, and obviously will force you to think on your feet and change your playstyle, which sounds really, really interesting. Now, he also spoke about behemoth vehicles, for example, airships, battleships, and armoured trains. I have to admit, the idea of controlling an armoured train just, makes me tingle in new and unexpected ways. And the trailer, the new gameplay trailer, showed some really interesting looking weaponry. Seemed to be some sort of bicycle arrangement happening. You've got artillery cannons and a blimp being shot down, which maybe means you can control that blimp, and just all sorts of cool stuff. It definitely looks like it's not all in trenches. There's undoubtedly going to be some trench gameplay, but it just shows lots of biplanes, triplanes, tanks, obviously. Lots of horseback things, the melee combat that they mentioned before, as I said, the blimp, and various other cool looking guns that I don't know enough about guns to identify just from a trailer, but it looks really cool, and it actually had me really interested. And as I said many times, modern military shooters are not my thing usually, but I have to say Battlefield 1 looks really intriguing, and hopefully it can entice me to it, because I've never really put any decent time into a Battlefield game, which is usually my cup of tea, but this one looks like it might just be the one. Overall, though, my opinions on the EA conference were kind of meh. The most interesting thing revealed was the EA Originals concept, as well as that game Fee that I spoke fairly lengthily about just a moment ago. Overall, nothing of really real substance was revealed, which is probably why they decided to not do a full-blown conference this year. They did their own separate thing, and not actually in the main E3 hall. Again, no, nothing, no big reveals. I was hoping for maybe a reveal of the new Star Wars game, the Amy Hennig one, but no, nothing to show there apparently. And obviously we already had the reveal for Battlefield 1. We had some new gameplay, which was awesome, but again, no big reveals or anything really shocking or surprising from EA. Some cool reveals, as I said, but overall feeling yeah, it was alright. But again, that's probably why they didn't have a big conference, because they didn't really have anything huge to show. Lots and lots of sports. Oh my god, so much sports. But, you know, I'm biased against that because sports games and sports themselves don't interest me. So if you want to hear about the sports things, you're on the wrong channel, my friend. Overall thoughts on the EA conference again, kind of meh, but some interesting things. I'm actually pleased to see them kind of making an effort to support indies and trying to, I guess, change their image as the worst company in the world. I mean, Ubisoft seem to be fighting them for that lately, and Konami as well. The less we talk about them, the better. But they actually seem to be making an effort to sort of put back into the community with not only the charity, but also the support of indies, which they did before within Unravel, but they're making a sort of more long-term effort, I suppose, with the EA Originals thing. So, there you have it. E3 2016 officially underway. EA kicked things off with a sort of gentle softball, shall we say. But overall, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow. Of course, we've got Bethesda late tonight. I won't be doing that one myself, but Paul will be covering that early tomorrow. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. And of course, Microsoft and all that tomorrow. So the real things come tomorrow, but not a bad start, not a bad start. So, there you have it. Do let me know your thoughts and opinions as always. Thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's very much appreciated. It does help out a great deal. And I'll see you next time.